there, Brian Ewald at the PRS booth, NAMM 2017, and here with another very exciting addition to the PRS amp line. Big year for PRS amps between the Sunzera and this JMod 100, the John Mayer Overdrive amp. This has been a long collaboration with John and Paul and Doug Sewell in designing an amp that really is an amalgamation of all of the favorite things of John's amp collection, and as you may imagine, he's got a pretty substantial amp collection that I think anybody would be jealous of. So he was really looking for something to do all of his favorite aspects of his different amps that he's been touring with. He's been using a version of this with the Dead & Company for the past year, and they've been tweaking it to really so it'll fit within both the Dead & Company and what he's looking for in his trio. That's basically what we're looking at here, the fruits of all that labor. Right now, we've got it with a 212 cabinet, which is what he pairs it with doing the trio stuff. If you've seen him with a Dead & Company, he pairs it with a 410. They both sound great. They're just different voicings. So quickly, I'll go through and it's a single channel amp. It is 100 watts. However, it is actually a very manageable 100 watts. There's a lot of headroom on it, but I had a chance to road test this for a month, and I've used it on quite a few different gigs, and a couple of them were stage volume issues, and I didn't really think I'd be able to open it as much as I did, but without it being overwhelming, even in a small room, it just sounds bigger than life. A lot of tones. It's a very vintage voiced amp. There's a lot of tones between the different volumes. So it's single channel. You've got an input volume, which will definitely drive as you crank it up, a bright switch, a beautifully voiced EQ section. Then the gain stage is not another channel. It's actually a loop. It's basically just like an effects loop after the preamp, as opposed to putting drives in front like you would with a pedal. Even though this amp sounds ridiculously good as a pedal platform, I used it about halfway with the drive channel and with probably over a dozen different pedals as drives, and it took everyone beautifully. Putting the drive section in a loop after the EQ, you have this volume gives you the level of gain that you want, and then you use this output stage to match your volume, whether you want it to be a similar level to the clean channel or if you want to boost it. The thing is, since this is all one channel, the input volume, the bright switch, all this preamp is still effective through this. So whether you're driving the front end and backing this off or bringing this down and cranking this up in there, there's a lot of variations of tones. Very big kind of round, woody, vintage, tweedy kind of tones, like when you crank up like a tweed twin. The clean sound, you can get this beautiful, thick, even with single coils up on the high register. Like I'll play a little bit of the clean here. I'll split the coil on this. And here is humbucker. So that's about halfway up. If I wanted, it breaks up, there's a little bit of hair on that. If I brought this down and cranked this master up, it would be pristinely clean. If I bring this up, it would break up beautifully, just that sweet low gain breakup. But I don't know how well this translates over the internet, but playing this thing, the clean channel reacts as if there's gain or compression without it being squashed. If you're familiar with John's tones and the amps that he's used to get that, it gets it in spades. It gets that. Even with single coils, the notes up high just sound bigger than life. It reacts and feels like you have, like the way a gain channel would, where you have compression and sustain. It's so easy to play and just sounds beautiful. You don't have that big spike of an attack like you do on clean, and then your sustain is down here. It's one of those amps you can play a clean solo on, which again, if you're a fan of John's and his catalog, he gets that tone so well. He can play a clean solo that has all the beautiful artifacts as if you were playing with gain. Kicking over and adding some gain on it into the overdrive channel or the overdrive loop. Big round woody voice. Real milky and creamy, but kick the bright switch on. push the presence up. It sings. It's got just a beautiful voice to it. I've had a chance to play a lot of amps in my day, and this is by far up there with my favorite amp to play. It's a joy to play. Master output section, presence, and a master volume control. Again, it's not overwhelmingly loud for a 100 watt amp. 4 6L6s. There's also a foot switchable loop. You can turn the effects loop on and off from the front via toggle or with a foot switch. John opted not to do a onboard reverb. He likes an outboard that he uses quite a bit. But one thing he loved about the design of this amp was that the effects loop is completely transparent. They would plug things into it, take it out, switch it on and off, and there would be absolutely no change in the volume or tone. Just a beautiful design. Paul's description of this is just a really, really high-end piece of audio gear. It's like driving a Ferrari. It's a blast. So really great to have this in the lineup, and certainly keep an eye out for these, the Mayer J-Mod 100.